Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports Ball with Palmer. Man, ah, we college football's back, man. That was a fun weekend of college football. So on this episode, I'm going to be recapping last week's action, which just finished up yesterday night, I should say. But I will be recapping that action and then looking ahead and previewing and giving my picks for this upcoming weekend's action. I'm happy college football's back, man. Like, let's go. I'm excited. There was a lot of just bad game, just sloppy games, and again it's week one. But man, oof. Hey, I know you can see that in the title. Hey, is Arch overrated? Is Ohio State defense actually that good, or was Arch just that bad? I mean, I get it. Both are bringing in a lot of transfers, a lot of new starters. Boy, Alabama got waxed down in Tallahassee. Is it gonna be DeBoer for Alabama with Kalen DeBoer? I mean, man, Alabama just didn't even look prepared for that game after all the talk in the offseason. Uh, just, uh, man, Alabama didn't look good. TCU waxed Chapel Bill. I mean, honestly, if you were picking North Carolina to win that game, like you really thought he was just going to step in and do everything when literally his last little bit, like last season two at New England, weren't that good. So did you really expect him to just step in and yeah. I think they're going to be in for a lot of growing pains this year. Granted, I didn't like the hire to begin with. I think they should have gone with someone else. But it'll be interesting long term. But man, first drive they went down. If you were looking on Twitter, it's like, oh man, they look good, and all of a sudden, TCU scored 41 and answered. So yeah, TCU waxed North Carolina. Boise State got beat down in Orlando to South Florida. LSU went into Death Valley at Clemson and won. Miami upset Notre Dame. There was some really, really good games. And again, there was just some sloppy games. Bryce Underwood era has begun at Michigan. So, but man, there was a lot of fun. It was just a fun weekend to sit and watch college football, regardless. And I know I kind of speed, but I'll go through some of kind of bigger games. Starting with, to start the day, we had number 1 Texas against number 3 Ohio Soft. I kind of thought, and I picked them. Again, hey, sorry, forgive me, Michigan fans, but I did pick Ohio State, and they won. Just because, again, Arch was making, he made some starts last year, but, that was non-conference, and he looked all right. But, this was his first true big-time start against a, quality opponent, really good opponent. And then it was on the road in Columbus. And then also, even just real quick here, and College Game Day was in town because that was Lee Corso's last College Game Day. And I don't know about anyone else. I can only assume because, especially if you're around my age, if you're 40 or younger, not saying if you're over than 40, you can't relate, because you absolutely can. But I really feel like, people my age, men and women my age, even people in their 20s. Like, okay, I'll be 30 this year, so that's why I say people like even in their 20s, but like, people in their 30s and 40s, who have grown up watching College Game Day and watching Lee Corso and him making his headgear picks. I mean, I got emotional. I cried a few times watching game day on Saturday because that was Lee's last game day. So, and I know I said on the preview, but hey, thank you, Coach. Thank you, Lee Corso, for everything you have meant to college football for all these years. Just, hey, it's entertainment, sweetheart, and not so fast, my friend. I mean, just, uh, you know, and of course, I mean, and they meant this. Of course, they discussed it on the show. His first pick, his headgear pick, was Brutus. So I fully expected and figured it was only right that his last headgear pick was gonna end up being Brutus. And I mean, it was cool. They were, you know, at midfield. He made the pick. I think if that game would have been in Austin, there would have been a slightly better chance of him picking Texas, but I just didn't see any way. So it was only right that his first pick was Brutus, like he says, his first love, and that his last pick was Brutus. So, man, it's going to be kind of weird. Like, I mean, obviously I'll still watch game day, but it's going to be weird, kind of weird a little bit, the rest of the year watching game day without Lee Corso. Because, again, we've watched him for so many years, and there's not going to be another Lee Corso. So just kind of go and get out of the way here at the start of the episode. Once again, thank you, Lee Corso, for everything you have done and meant to college football and helping make college football what it is today. So with that, again, hey, Texas and Ohio State kicked off the day at 11 o'clock in Columbus. Oh, that was a really ugly game. I mean, Ohio State won 14-7. I mean, again, was Ohio State's defense that good? Or was Arch just that bad? Like, he missed so many throws where it's like, yeah, that wasn't even good defense. So, like, if he makes those throws, but I didn't think Texas, people were like, oh, Texas is going to go in there and blow them out and all this. And I was just like, no, nah. Because, like, with them being at home, man, I mean, that environment, I knew it was going to be a tough game for Texas. So they ended up losing, and just kind of like I thought. But again, we're not going to know anything about either of these teams until they start conference play. So, like, again, was Arch just that bad, or was Ohio State just that bad? But I mean, Ohio State, yeah, they're playing Grambling in Ohio. Like, okay. And then Texas is playing UTEP and Sam Houston. Then, okay, Ohio State's playing Washington, and then Texas will play Florida, so we'll know more in those games. But yeah, we're not going to know anything about these teams because they're playing nobodies. And they obviously most likely will and should blow out those opponents. So, like, oh, yeah, okay, Texas is 2-1, Ohio State's 3-0. Like, yeah, well, then Texas, if they then, or like say Texas ended up winning this game. Like, say they won 14-7. Like, oh, Texas is 3-0, and then okay, Ohio State's 2-1. Like, yeah, that's what should happen. So, but I do feel like he's a little overhyped because again, and I'm sure he'll improve. And I mean, obviously, I hope he does. But if he struggled week one at Ohio State at an 11 o'clock kickoff, when Texas plays at Georgia here later in the season, and like that's 100% very much most likely going to be a night game, and that's going to be a 6:30, 7 o'clock kickoff. He's absolutely going to struggle at Georgia in that environment because it's going to be just as loud, if not louder, at Georgia for that game. So, but I also just feel like if he didn't have the name Manning on the back of his jersey, people wouldn't be talking about him as much. So I think a lot of it definitely has to do with the fact that he has Manning on the back of his jersey, because he didn't even put up all that great stats in high school, like what you would think for as highly as a recruited prospect. So I think, and I mean, nothing kind of wrong with that. Like, well, he's Cooper Manning's son, so he's Peyton and Eli's nephew. I'm sure that the Manning family, like including his granddad Archie, they probably protected him from, stuff just so he could have that highly recruited uh, status. So it's kind of wait and see. I don't want to declare him bust, but like, I mean, we have seen guys be highly recruited out of high school. I mean, Tate Mardell, whatever, I can't remember his last name. But like when he went to Ohio State, like he was highly recruited, and then he didn't do anything, and then never did anything. Like even when he went to Miami and UNLV, he just never did anything. He never lived up to the hype. Now, granted, obviously at the time, like you had Joe Burrow, you had Justin Fields in that quarterback room, so he was like the third, fourth best quarterback on that team. So it's like, okay, well, even why did you go to Ohio State when you were already going to be most likely, especially like your freshman and sophomore years, third, fourth on the depth chart because you had those guys there. Now, obviously, Joe Burrow transferred to LSU and did what he did there, and then obviously because of that, he transferred to Miami to try and, but even then at Miami, he never still lived up to the hype and was in quarterback battles there. But so I'm not saying that, but like we have seen that before with highly touted quarterbacks. Now, and to go back to Thursday, man, Boise State got waxed by South Florida and Orlando. Now, I mean, obviously, you knew they were going to take a step back without Ashton Genty, and obviously, there's a long season ahead. But man, they got absolutely crushed. Even kind of, and then going back, even looking on Friday, Auburn beat Baylor. I mean, I wasn't too high on Auburn. Like, I think they'll be improved, but hey, I mean, go on the road into Baylor. They won 38-24, and then the South Florida won 34-7 over Boise. So that kind of surprised me. Georgia Tech, hey, again, I feel like Colorado's a little overhyped just because Deion's the head coach. Georgia Tech went in there and shut them up. They won 27-20 Friday night. And then to get to Saturday, then going a little bit in order, man, like I said, Alabama got absolutely waxed by Florida State. I mean, yeah, they kind of made it a little bit of a game there in the fourth quarter, but then Florida State responded and just erased any doubt. They won 31-17 over Alabama, and I thought Alabama would win this game. I thought Alabama would go in there and crush them, and they didn't. So, should Kalen DeBoer, I mean, I know this is only the beginning of his second season, and it's hard to fill in, especially for a coach as great as Nick Saban and the success and sustained success he had at Alabama. Like, that's hard to live up to. And so, like, Alabama's probably going to have a lot more 8-4 and 9-3 seasons, and Alabama fans are gonna have to get used to it. Obviously, they have super high expectations, and yeah, I mean, at an Alabama, is it unreasonable to have those expectations? No, because like you're Alabama, but I feel like you should come down. But man, they're already calling for his head, and it's not like they have easy games remaining. Like they don't have like okay, yeah, the next couple weeks they should win. But like okay, you lost to Vanderbilt last like under DeBoer, they are now 4-4 in games that they are 14-point or more favorites. They are 4-4 under DeBoer so far, and under Saban, like but it's still ridiculous. Like they only lost 2 games. Like eventually, like yeah, sometimes you're gonna get got, but to only get got like pretty like twice. Like okay, if they had lost 4 in the entire time, like okay, and like he's tied that the entire time, but like in a way, it's like well, yeah, only in his second season he now has more than Saban ever did at Alabama. So like when you're losing games like obviously do they happen and those are like the really big upsets, but man, and like I said, they just looked unprepared, man. They couldn't do anything in the run game. Their quarterback didn't look Ty Simpson didn't look honestly all that good. Like he looked like a first time starter. So I mean, can they get it right? Like it's just going to be interesting because again, they just didn't look prepared at all. I mean, okay. Again, honestly, again, kind of like North Carolina, like first drive, like they went right down the field and scored, and you're like, and especially if you were a Florida State fan, you had to have been thinking like, oh no, here we go again. But then after that, they really didn't do anything. I mean, Florida State took it to them. I mean, they 2 touchdown win, 14-point win. I'm not that high on Florida State, but like this was a monumental, big time win for that program. Now I think they'll probably, instead of maybe being more towards the bottom, I think now they'll end up being more middle of the pack in the ACC. But I mean, that is a huge one for that Florida State program. And then I mean, just kind of looking quick. Tennessee dominated Syracuse. Tulane dominated Northwestern. 23-3. Tennessee won 45-6 over, or 45-26. Sorry, over Syracuse. And then the big one Saturday night, LSU beat Clemson 17-10. So, and like I said, both teams were coming in on losing streaks in their home opener, so one of them was going to win. But, I mean, that is huge for LSU if they – and I think they can. And I thought even coming into the season that they can be amongst the teams to, like, really be competing for a national championship. But to win that game in Death Valley, huge boost for them. I mean, and that hurts Clemson a little bit. Now, they're still – and I still feel like they'll be – at the top of the ACC. Now, I still think Miami wins, and especially after them beating Notre Dame. Man, I really think Miami – I don't want to say a surprise because like people have been picking them, but people are obviously still doubting. But I feel like Miami might be in for a really good season this year. I mean, Carson Beck looked good. So, I mean, kind of it almost makes you think, was it really a Carson Beck problem at Georgia? I mean, I know he was dealing with some injuries, especially last year. So, but man, Miami won 27-24. They won a close game under them. It's kind of like with Nebraska and Matt Rule, just but not like Nebraska in general. Like he gets criticized for losing all these close games. He won it. He won it Sunday night. Now they were dominating early and kind of let Notre Dame. Well, they obviously let Notre Dame back in the game. Notre Dame ended up tying it up there, 24-24 in the fourth quarter. But their stars, like their pass rush, their defensive line, their defense shut down Jordan Love. And CJ Carr, yeah, there were moments again he looked good, like he was all right, but it didn't look like he didn't like necessarily completely have yet what it takes to especially win a big time road game like that, And I definitely think he's going to improve and get better. So, but man, hats off to Miami for winning that game. They won it then with a field goal late to win 27-24. So, hey, Mario, shut up the critics winning that game or I should say Sunday night. So, man, congrats. Like, I really feel like Miami is potentially in for a special season. Like, I feel like they're amongst the teams that can win the national championship this year. And then again, TCU just crushed North Carolina last night, 48-14. So that was at least just kind of some high view of last week. And I didn't completely calculate what the standings was, what I did record-wise, but I'll just kind of go through. So in the Central Arkansas-Missouri game, I had Missouri won. UT Martin, Oklahoma State won. Nebraska-Cincinnati, I had Nebraska won. I had Wisconsin winning, they won. I had UCF winning, they won. I had Houston and Stephen F. Austin, Houston won. I did take Boise State. I thought they might win a close game, and I thought they would kind of struggle to a win, but was wrong there. Rutgers in Ohio had Rutgers winning. I was wrong in this game between East Carolina and NC State. I had East Carolina winning. Was wrong there. Had Duke beating Elon. Duke won. Got Minnesota right. And against Buffalo was wrong in the Tarleton State Army game. I had Army winning and they lost. Was wrong in the Auburn-Baylor game. I had Baylor winning. Auburn won. Got Michigan State correct. Got Wake Forest correct. Got Illinois correct. Got Kansas correct. Got Georgia Tech correct. I had Navy correct. I had Georgia correct. I had Iowa State correct. I had Kansas State correct. A&M correct. I had Clemson wrong because I had Clemson winning. LSU won. I had Michigan correct. I had Texas Tech correct. I had Penn State correct. I had Oregon correct. I had Ole Miss correct. SMU correct. Ohio State correct. Tennessee correct. In their game against Syracuse, Indiana I had correct. I had Alabama wrong because I did pick Alabama. I had Oklahoma correct. I had Florida correct. I had Arizona State correct. I had Pitt correct. I had Boston College correct. I had Louisville correct. I was wrong in the Coastal Virginia game. Virginia ended up winning. I was wrong in the Cal-Oregon State game. Cal ended up winning. I had West Virginia correct. BYU correct. Arizona correct. Utah correct. Iowa correct. USC correct. I had Maryland correct. Purdue correct. Tulane correct. Washington correct. I was wrong in the Mississippi State Southern Miss correct. I had Southern Miss in that game. I had Kentucky correct. Arkansas correct. Vanderbilt correct. I was wrong in the Virginia Tech South Carolina game. I picked Virginia Tech to win. And then I was right in the TCU North Carolina game. I had TCU winning that game. So now, as we look ahead to week 2, come on, why are you so slow? Sorry, I'm just like, I don't know why, for whatever reason, this page is being load to pull up. Like my internet's fine. But I will look at the rankings. So the rankings came out this afternoon. Our rankings came out. So Ohio State moved up to number 1, kind of understandable. Although, I don't know, it kind of just means like if you're the number 2 team in this, like, okay, in this case, Penn State, like Penn State dominated their game. Like, it's not like they won close. Like, if they had won close, like, I can understand Ohio State leaving them. Now, again, I get it. Ohio State beat the number 1 team, but I'll just think, especially because Penn State won big, that like Penn State should have moved up to number 1. Ohio State moves up to number 2. But I mean, but I also understand why Ohio State leapfrogged and is now the number 1 team in the nation. LSU moved up 6 spots to number 3. Georgia moved up to number 4. Miami moved up 5 spots to number 5. Oregon moved up to number 6. So then Texas ended up dropping 6 spots down to number 7. Clemson dropped 4 down to number 8. Notre Dame dropped 3 down to number 9. South Carolina moved up 3 to number 10. Illinois moved up to number 11. I kind of don't understand, and it will be the same with Michigan. Like, Arizona, like, won, but they drop a spot to number 12. Like, I don't understand that. Like, you won. Why are you dropping? Florida moved up a couple spots to number 13. Florida State was obviously unranked. They just make a huge jump in. They're number 14. And then that moved Michigan down to number 15 because Michigan was number 14 last week. So again, they won. Don't understand why they're dropping. Iowa State moves up 6 spots to number 16. And then, okay, so even same. Well, and even then you get to Texas Tech and similar. So SMU drops a spot even though they won to number 17. Oklahoma stays the same at number 18. Same with Texas A&M. They stay the same at 19. Ole Miss moved up a spot to 20. Alabama dropped 13 spots down to number 21. Tennessee moved up 2 to number 22. Even Indiana, like, they dropped. Like, some of this I don't understand. Like, again, if you win, why are you getting like penalized for winning? Like, that doesn't make sense. So, hey, it's like Mizzou last year. I know we finished 9-3. We put like 3 times early on. It was like, oh, we won, and then we dropped like a spot or 2. Like, what? We won. Like, okay. Yeah, so Indiana drops. They're now number 23. Texas Tech dropped a spot as well. They're 24. And Utah was unranked last week. They are now number 25 as Kansas State and Boise State both dropped out of the rankings. Again, kind of waiting on this to load. Come on. Okay, there we go. Sorry. We're just waiting on this page to load up again. Don't know why it's been slow. But so I'm going to now kind of preview and give my picks for this upcoming week, week 2. And then how I'm going to do this, so I'm kind of, at least if there's games like Thursday and Friday, I'm going to start with those games and then move on to Saturday. But I will go, just to make it kind of easier, at least especially like on the Saturday games, I'm going to start with the top 25 matchups, like the teams that are in the top 25, and then go SEC, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, and then sprinkle in, like, I'll give Notre Dame. Now, there's going to, especially like when they were playing Miami, but like there'll be other games where they're playing like Big Time Power 5 opponents. Oh, well, they're playing Texas A&M, so but I'll talk them. I'll kind of talk about the service academies just because, hey, it's fun to talk about them. And then, some other, group of five teams mixed in, like maybe like Boise State, Marshall. But that's just like in the order. Just it'll be easier just so to keep track of everything and just easier to talk about. And then that way you guys kind of know where I'm going. But again, like it'll be Thursday, Friday games. And again, specifically, obviously, the Power Five, or it's not Power Five, Power Four. But I'll start there, and then again, like I said, Saturday. That'll especially be the order for the Saturday games. But there are Friday games this week. You will have James Madison going up against Louisville. Both teams are 1-0 heading into this matchup. Louisville is favored by 14.5. And I think Louisville is at least going to be in the middle, maybe potentially fighting for the top of the ACC. James Madison isn't bad. They're in the Sun Belt, I believe. They'll probably be fighting for a Sun Belt championship. So, it's not a cakewalk game by any means, but I do like Louisville in this game. Northwestern takes on Western Illinois. Maybe just because I'm not seeing a spread. Northwestern's probably the favorite. Northwestern's not all that good, but they should beat like Western Illinois. So I'll take Northwestern. Northern Illinois will take on Maryland. There is a spread on this game that I can see, at least on ESPN. Maryland is favored by 17.5. Bro, my fancy group chat needs to shut up. But I'll take Maryland. I don't like Maryland's not that good, but again, this is a game they should win. An inferior opponent. Both teams are 1-0, coming into this game. So I like Maryland to get to 2-0. Oh, sorry, I should say Western Illinois and Northwestern are both 0-1. So I like Northwestern to get back to 500 and get to 1-1. Dang, did not mean to click that. Go back. Eastern Washington is going to take on Boise State. I don't see a spread for this game. I'm sure there'll be a spread. I just don't see one on ESPN. Both teams are coming in 0-1. I do like Boise to rebound in this game and get back to get back to 500 at 1-1. And then now we will head to the Saturday games, the Saturday slate. And again, looking at starting with the top 25. All right, we got the Cyhawk game as Iowa and Iowa State would collide in Ames, Iowa. Iowa State is favored by 3.5. I can agree with that. Now, Iowa State's coming in 2-0 because, again, they played week 0 against Kansas State. Iowa is coming in at 1-0. Iowa typically does kind of dominate this rivalry, but Iowa State has been feisty in these last several matchups. I'm pretty sure Iowa State won last year, and at least on Matt Campbell, they've been competitive in these games. So, this game being at home, Ames can be a tough place to play. If this game was being played in Kinnick, I would take Iowa, but the fact that this game is being played in Ames, I do like Iowa State in this game. Yeah, so I'll take Iowa State in this game. I'll take them to get to 3-0. So next up, Baylor takes on SMU in Dallas. SMU is a 3-point favorite as of right now. SMU has, I believe it's 13, 14, something game like that, home winning streak. So, I mean, they've been really tough to play there in Dallas. And I mean, this is a rivalry game, old school from the what was it, SWACs, um, Southwest. You know, the old when it was all the Texas schools. You know, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, SMU, Houston, Rice. I mean, Arkansas was in it in that conference back in the day. So this is an old school rivalry game. So obviously, I don't think. I mean, obviously, Auburn was a quality opponent, so I don't think Baylor was overlooking Auburn for this game. I mean, SMU got TCU last year, and I think that game was in TCU though. I think SMU will get this game. I think SMU will win. I think SMU gets to 2-0 here. Baylor falls to 0-2. Well, and that's going to be tough. I mean, so then next up, Kent State takes on Texas Tech at Tech. Tech is, I mean, obviously heavily favored. They're 48.5-point favorites. I'm counting not much to say. Tech gets to 2-0. Kent State falls to 1-1. The Texas A&M Aggies are taking on the Utah State Aggies. Texas A&M is 31.5-point favorites. They are the home team. I like them to get to 2-0. Utah State falls to 1-1. Semi-big game as Oklahoma State travels to Oregon to take on the Oregon Ducks. Both teams are 1-0 entering this contest. Oregon is 28.5-point favorites. Man, I don't know. I don't know if Oklahoma State can cover that. I mean, they might. Well, okay, they might cover, but I don't know if they'll keep it competitive. I mean, because they kind of struggled. Man, I do think Oregon kind of rolls. I mean, both teams did struggle a little bit last week. I mean, Oklahoma State definitely struggled in the run game. And that was against obviously a inferior opponent. So now you're playing Oregon and Eugene. I think Oregon rolls. Oregon gets to 2-0. The Pokes fall to 1-1. Troy will take on the Clemson Tigers in Death Valley. Clemson is 33.5-point favorites. I like Clemson in this game. I like Clemson to bounce back in a big way. Clemson gets back to 500 at 1-1. Troy falls to 1-1. Bethune would take on the Miami Hurricanes. I don't see a spread, but Miami is the home team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up being like heavy favorites. I'd like Miami to get to 2-0. Bethune will fall to 0-2. The Louisiana Tech will head to Baton Rouge to take on the Bayou Bengals, the LSU Tigers. Both teams enter 1-0. LSU is 37.5-point favorites. They're going to get to 2-0. Louisiana Tech falls to 1-1. Now, pretty big game here. And I did pick it, but I'll still give this pick out again. But Michigan and Oklahoma, as Michigan heads to Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. College game day is going to be there. Not surprised. Oklahoma is the favorite in this game. They are 5.5-point favorites. Again, both teams semi-struggled a little bit in their games, but obviously came away with wins. Both teams enter 1-0. I mean, this is going to be a fun game. I mean, I think it's going to be a defensive battle, honestly, because Venables, he is a defensive coach. I mean, he was D coordinator at Clemson under Dabo. And Michigan's defensive, now they'll be missing a guy who is on suspension because he got called for targeting. Now, I didn't think it was targeting, but it got upheld. So he'll miss the first half, which is kind of a big hit. Now, obviously, you'll get him in the second half, but you know, missing him in the first half is going to hurt. But and now this is Bryce. Like again, all that I talked about Archie. Like now, Bryce is making his first big time road start against a big time opponent. So, but I'm still not a huge believer in Oklahoma. I mean, they were 6-6 last year and just didn't look good. Like, so why are they even ranked? It's just because they got the Oklahoma on their helmet. Like, let's be honest here. But I'm still not a huge believer in Oklahoma. Now, I don't. Now, I'm not saying Michigan's going to go roll in there and just win by 2 touchdowns, but I think like Michigan could win on a game-winning field goal, or by a field goal, or by 4, or even maybe by a touchdown. But I like Michigan in this game. I think they're going to go into Oklahoma and win. So, Michigan 2-0, go blue. FIU will head to Penn State. Both teams are 1-0 heading into this matchup. Penn State is 43.5-point favorites. Penn State gets the 2-0. They're going to roll. Georgia takes on Austin Peay in Athens. Both teams are 1-0. Georgia 2-0. Ole Miss will head to Kentucky. And both teams are 1-0. They will look to avenge last year's loss to Kentucky that they took at home. So that really honestly kept them out of the playoff. I mean, yeah, they finished 9-3, but that definitely kept them out of the playoff last year. So they'll be looking to exact some revenge. And honestly, Kentucky wasn't all that good. Like, that was a bad loss for them last year. And Kentucky's honestly not that good this year either. So I would expect them. I mean, they are 10.5-point favorites. So I like Ole Miss to get revenge here. They're going to get to 2-0. Kentucky falls to 1-1. San Jose State heads to Austin, Texas to take on those Texas Longhorns. I still don't care, even though I'm picking them. Horns down. They'll get back to 1-1. I mean, they are 36.5-point favorites in this game. So Texas gets back to 1-1. San Jose State falls to 0-2. The Fighting Illini, Illinois, is 1-0 as they head to Duke to take on those Blue Devils, who are also 1-0. Illinois is 2.5-point favorite, so this is kind of a close game, but I do like Illinois to go in there and get that win. They'll get to 2-0. Duke falls to 1-1. East Texas A&M takes on Florida State in Tallahassee. They are 0-1, and Florida State is obviously 1-0 heading into this game. Florida State's going to win. They'll get to 2-0. Kennesaw State heads to Indiana to take on those Hoosiers. Kennesaw is 0-1. Indiana is 1-0 heading into this game. Indiana is 35.5-point favorites. I like them to win this game. They'll get to 2-0. Grambling heads to Ohio Soft. Both teams are 1-0. Ohio Soft gets the win. They're 2-0. ETSU heads to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Both teams are 1-0 heading into this contest. Tennessee gets to 2-0. South Florida heads to Florida to take on the Florida Gators. So, Florida battle here. Florida is 17.5-point favorites. I'm going to pick an upset here. Yeah, I mean, again, could be wrong, but I'm going to pick an upset. I'm going to say I'm picking it, but I think they at least definitely for sure cover. But I do like South Florida outright in this game. I think they go into the swamp and win. Cal Poly will head to Utah as both teams are 1-0. I mean, it's a lot for a lot of these games, especially the teams playing like FCS schools or just weaker FBS schools. There's at least no spread on ESPN. Like, I'm sure there's a spread probably on like other sports books, but both teams do enter 1-0. Utah's going to get to 2-0. SEC takes on South Carolina. Both teams are 1-0. Again, we're shattering. Like, yeah, I'm picking South Carolina. We'll get to 2-0. Kind of a big one here. Arizona State heads to Mississippi State. Both teams are 1-0. Arizona State is actually favored by 6.5 in this game. I mean, Southern, like, I thought Southern, and they kind of were, and then Mississippi State ended up pulling it away late. But, I mean, Southern Miss still isn't. Like, they're on the rebound. So now this is a big test for Mississippi State, who is, I mean, they're still arguably the worst team in the SEC. I mean, I know this game's at home for them. This is in Stark Vegas, and it's going to be a tough crowd, especially with them actually being 1-0. Although, I mean, Mississippi State fans do still show up for this team, so I don't know. I mean, the Big 12 is wide open crazy, but and Arizona State is one of the favorites. I do like Arizona State. I will pick them to win this game. I think they do get to 2-0. Louisiana Monroe heads to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Now there actually is a spread in this game. Alabama is 36.5-point favorites. I mean, they'll probably win, but I will laugh if they don't cover this. Now I'd say that and watch them cover. But, I mean, Alabama's going to win. I mean, although granted, the last time, I'm pretty sure the last time they started a season 0-1, they lost to Louisiana Monroe. And the last time they started 0-1 was 2001. And I think, I mean, I didn't look it up, and I probably should have. So forgive me. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think, Alabama's probably going to win this game. Okay, now to look at the SEC. And obviously there's going to be overlap. And even when I get to the Big Ten and Big 12 and whatnot. So obviously this is the teams that aren't ranked in the top 25. And again, I talked this game. So if you want a full breakdown of this game, check out my Border War preview of Missouri and Kansas for a full breakdown of this game. But I will still give my pick again on here. I just kind of be a little bit more quick about it. So, yeah, Border War's back. Missouri and Kansas are playing. Kansas comes in 2-0 because, again, they played week 0. Missouri is 1-0. Missouri is 6.5-point favorites. I do think they cover. Mizzou wins, baby. Mizzou. They're going to be banging that drum around the stadium after they win. Ball State will take on up next. Yeah, Ball State takes on Auburn. They come in 0-1. Auburn comes in 1-0. Auburn is favored by 43.5 points. I mean, Auburn's going to win. They'll get to 2-0. Are there even any? Okay, yeah. Barely. Arkansas State. So up next, kind of a in-house Arkansas fight. Arkansas State will take on Arkansas. Arkansas is favored by 23.5. Both teams do come in 1-0. I do think Arkansas wins. Now, this will be an interesting game because obviously it's battle of like the two top Arkansas schools. So as far as Division I, but I think Arkansas wins. They'll get to 2-0. And then the only other non-ranked matchup, because there's some where, Ole Miss. Obviously Oklahoma's ranked, LSU's ranked, A&M is ranked. Of course Kentucky. That's a conference game, so they're playing a conference game in week 2. But Ole Miss is ranked. Tennessee, Florida, they're ranked. South Carolina's ranked. Mississippi is unranked, but they're playing number 12 Arizona State, and then of course Alabama's ranked. So, but Vanderbilt will take on Virginia Tech. This is Virginia Tech's home opener because they. And I think I was wrong. I'm pretty sure I said on last week's preview when they were playing South Carolina that game was in South Carolina. I was wrong. That actually was a neutral site game. That game was played in Atlanta. So, but Virginia Tech, this is going to be their home opener in Blacksburg. They are 1.5-point favorites. Vanderbilt does come in 1-0. Virginia Tech is 0-1 after dropping to South Carolina. But I do like Virginia Tech to bounce back, especially in front of that home crowd, home opener. I am a little bit high on Vandy. I think Vandy can get to 7-5, but this is kind of one of those games they probably need to win to do that. And can Vandy go in? I mean, Diego Pavia is really good. I mean, obviously, Virginia, like this is a pretty much a toss-up game, especially with Virginia Tech only being 1.5-point favorites. But I mean, again, I know LSU went into Death Valley and won, and obviously that's a tough. Virginia Tech can be a tough, and there was some other. I mean, Auburn went into Baylor and won. So I'm not saying home field advantage is everything. Obviously, it definitely helps, but I do like Virginia Tech solid. I think they'll get to 2-0. Vanderbilt falls to 1-1. Next up, once it loads, Big 12 action. Man, kind of same thing. Well ranked. Obviously, I already went over the Missouri Kansas game. There we go. Wow, dang! I didn't realize they were on the road. But West Virginia takes on Ohio. West Virginia does come in 1-0. Ohio is 0-1, and West Virginia is only 3.5-point favorites. Dang! But I do like. I mean, again, Rich Rod made his return to West Virginia. Is back at West Virginia, and obviously he made his return last week. And especially with their offense, it's probably going to take them several weeks to like really get used to running that. So definitely by the end of the season, watch out. If they're out of it, which I mean they might be, watch out for them to potentially be playing spoiler against some schools, some Big 12 schools later, and at the end of the season. I mean, but I still like them in this game. I think they'll get to 2-0. Ohio falls to 0-2. And again, I did preview this game on my Kansas State preview episode, but Army is taking on Kansas State in Happiness in the Little Apple. Army comes in 0-1. Kansas State comes in 1-1. Kansas State is 17.5-point favorites. Whew, I'm sure obviously after last week, like had they actually dominated North Dakota, they probably would have come in as bigger favorites. But I'm honestly surprised they're 17.5-point favorites, especially after the way they played last week and then losing in Ireland. I thought they would be more around like 6.5, 7.5, 10 point, in that range, not 17.5. And again, not going to go in because I did preview. So if you want to in-depth look at this game, check out my Kansas State preview. But I am worried about Kansas State in this game. And I'm not going to Benedict because I did take them, but I like Kansas State slightly. I don't think they'll cover. And I think when I did the episode there, I don't think there had been lines out because, I did that episode yesterday, so which kind of surprised me that, like, okay, now today there's at least a line on ESPN, but whatever. So, like, now even seeing that line makes me worried even more. So I don't think they'll cover that. I think they win the game barely by like a field goal or something. Next up, Bowling Green takes on the Cincinnati Bearcats. Bowling Green does come in 1-0, and Cincinnati is 0-1. Cincinnati is 21.5-point favorites. I do like Cincinnati to bounce back in this game and get back to 500 at 1-1. Houston will take on Rice. Both teams do come in 1-0. Houston is 13.5-point favorites. I do like Houston. I think they'll be improved this year. I like them to get to 2-0. NC-A&T, okay, takes on UCF. Now they struggled to beat Jacksonville State last week, but I think they'll get to 2-0 as in UCF. Delaware would take on Colorado. Delaware does come in 1-0. Colorado 0-1. Colorado is 23.5-point favorites. Give me a second. I kind of want to pull this up if I can. And of course, there's a stupid end. Hopefully, I don't get copyrighted for that, but that song just kind of cracks me up. So with that, I'm picking the Buffs. They'll get to 1-1. Weber State next. Up next, Weber State takes on the Arizona Wildcats. Yeah. Arizona does come in 1-0. They'll get to 2-0. Stanford will take on BYU. Stanford comes in 0-1. BYU 1-0. BYU is 18.5-point favorites. I do like BYU to get to 2-0. So next up will be the Big Ten. Oh, wait. Did I talk about? No. Oh, I was wrong. Sorry. It's Utah State against Texas A&M. I was thinking Notre Dame, so maybe Notre Dame has a bye week. I apologize because I think I said earlier that Notre Dame's playing Texas A&M, and I was wrong. So I can't think of who. I'm sure they're playing this week. But sorry, we'll go to the Big Ten. Up next, Middle Tennessee State is taking on Wisconsin up in Madison. Middle Tennessee is 0-1. Wisconsin is 1-0. Wisconsin is 28.5-point favorites. Man, they were 17.5-point favorites and didn't even cover last week. So I don't know what makes you think they'll cover that big of a spread too. So, but I do like Wisconsin to 1-0. I see them getting to 2-0. Again, now up next, Akron will take on Nebraska. I did do a full breakdown on this game on my Nebraska preview. So if you want a full breakdown of that, check out my Nebraska preview. A little shout out there. Nebraska does come in 1-0. Akron is 0-1. Nebraska is 34.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Huskers, 2-0. Georgia Southern will take on USC Trojans. USC is 1-0 coming into this game. Southern is 0-1. USC is 28.5-point favorites. I do like USC, so give me them Trojans. Boston College and will take on the Michigan State Spartans. Both teams are 1-0 coming into this game. Michigan State is 3.5-point favorites. I do like them. This is a game I think they can get now. I think they'll be a little bit improved this year, but not like giantly. Like they'll probably be like 6-6, maybe 7-5. So, but I do like Sparty to get to 2-0. Northwestern State will take on the Minnesota Gophers, the Golden Gophers. Both teams are 1-0 coming into this game. I do like Minnesota to get to 2-0. Row that boat, PJ Flick. Miami of Ohio is going to take on Rutgers. They are 0-1, and Rutgers is 1-0 heading into this game. Rutgers is 16.5-point favorites. I do like Rutgers in this game. So give me Rutgers to go to 2-0. This Southern Illinois heads to Purdue to take on those Boilermakers. Both teams do come in 1-0 into this game. Again, Purdue's at the bottom of the Big Ten, but this is an inferior opponent. Obviously, most of their losses are going to come in conference play, but I do like Purdue to get to 2-0. UCLA is going to take on the UNLV Rebels. The running Rebels. UNLV is 2-0. UCLA is 0-1. UCLA is 2.5-point favorites coming into this game. I mean, they got crushed against Utah. Man. Is it really an upset? I mean, obviously it's an upset, like, because UCLA is favored, although it wouldn't surprise me if we get to game day, closer to game day, that this flips to UNLV. But give me UNLV in this game to get to 3-0. UC Davis is going to take on the Washington Huskies. Both are 1-0 coming into this game. Give me Washington to get to 2-0. All right, now we'll look at the ACC. We'll skip some of those because I've already talked. So we'll go straight into Virginia and NC State Pussy Pack. So wow, they're playing a conference game in week 2. Both teams are 1-0 coming into this game. NC State though is favored by 2.5. Give me the Pussy Pack 2-0 because I don't think Virginia's all that good. Central Michigan is going to take on the Pitt Panthers. Eat shit, Pitt. Both teams are 1-0 coming into this game. Pitt is favored by 21.5. Give me Pitt to go to 2-0. I mean, Central Michigan is okay, but I'm saying Pitt's the best, but like Pitt should probably win this game. UConn will take on the Syracuse Orange. UConn is 1-0. Syracuse is 0-1. Syracuse is 6.5-point favorites. I think UConn has a sneaky team to watch this year, and they could get this game. Honestly, give me UConn in this game. Western Carolina is going to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Wake Forest is 1-0 coming into this game. Give me Wake Forest to get to 2-0. Gardner-Webb is going to take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Both teams are 1-0 coming in this game, but give me Georgia Tech to get to 2-0. Texas Southern is going to take on the Cal Bears, the Golden Bears. Cal is surprisingly 1-0, and again, wow, they might actually end up surprising. I'm still probably not going to be like that good, but give me Cal to get to 2-0. The fighting Bill Belichick's Chapel Bill, aka North Carolina, is going to head to Charlotte. Carolina is 16.5-point favorites in this game. I will take them to bounce back and get to 1-1. I did already talk about the Vanderbilt Georgia Tech game and then the Stanford BYU game. So I'm pretty sure. Dang. I guess they aren't playing this week. Just kind of also talked about Army, but UAB is going to take on Navy. Navy, both teams are 1-0 coming into this game. And again, always go Army beat Navy, but I do like Navy in this game to get to 2-0. It does look like Air Force is off this week. All right, so Missouri State is going to take on Marshall. Both teams are 0-1 coming into this game. Marshall is 9.5-point favorites. I do like Marshall to bounce back. We Are Marshall, The Thundering Herd. I mean, come on, that is a classic movie. One of my favorite football movies. Everyone needs to watch that. I mean, it's based off a true story of the 1970 Marshall football team, as a majority of that team, and then coaching staff, and then alumni, and just other people in the community died in a plane crash that happened as the team was returning from a game. So tragic story, but I mean, it's then about the 1971 team and coming back from that. So if you haven't watched that movie, you got to check out We Are Marshall. So I feel like kind of watching that game, how can you not root for Marshall? So I do like Marshall to get back to 500, to get to 2-0. And I'm just looking like, dang, does Notre Dame have literally a week 2 bye week for no reason? Because I looked them up under Independence. Yeah. Dang. That's weird. Like I wouldn't think they would have like I was surprised like that Iowa State and Kansas State didn't have buys that week after, basically was week one this past weekend coming back from Ireland. But dang, that's crazy to have. So I was right in that their next opponent is A&M. I was just thinking they were playing Saturday. So yeah, dang, Notre Dame is off this week. But all right. So, well, then with that, that is my week 2 preview and picks. Feel free to call me out if I'm wrong or like, why did you pick them? So like, feel free to call me out. I don't care. I just like kind of, I mean, other than like kind of talking like Mizzou, like I'll like kind of pick spreads, just kind of based on gut feeling if a little bit, but I just more kind of pick straight up. But I mean, it is interesting seeing the spreads too, because you're kind of like, why are you coming up with that spread? Like, what makes you think about that spread? But then sometimes it's like, well, dang, Vegas was like right on, like, okay, like West Virginia, or not West Virginia, Wisconsin was 17 and a half. They won by 17. Like, they were pretty much right on with, with that. Like, I mean, obviously they didn't cover because they would have had to get to 18, but like, then sometimes it's like, dang, holy cow, Vegas is right on with this one. So, but I mean, obviously there's still some good games, kind of the big ones, uh, Missouri and Kansas, uh, Iowa, Kansas State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Arizona State, Mississippi State, like there was a lot more, I feel like, bigger games last week, but obviously as we progress and get into conference play here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a lot more bigger games every week. So looking forward to this week's action, looking forward to the NFL action this weekend. But that will be it for this episode. My next episode, I will be talking for sure NFL preview. That's probably going to be the next one, but the next episodes will be my NFL Chiefs preview, as the Chiefs will be playing Friday night against the LA Chargers. Now, LA is technically going to be the home team as they're playing in Brazil for the Brazil game. And then I will be breaking down the Braves Cubs series and then also the Royals Angels series. Although the Royals series isn't starting tonight, and tonight will be game 2 with the Cubs and the Braves. So their series will conclude tomorrow, and tomorrow is most likely when I'm going to do the Chiefs NFL preview. So I'm certain of the order, which one's going to come out first, because I'll be doing both tomorrow. But those will be next upcoming episodes, and then, like I said, recapping the Royals series against the Angels, and then that will there'll probably only be 3 more episodes and I'm probably gonna again do that either tomorrow night or Thursday. For sure, the Braves will be tomorrow, but there probably won't be an episode Friday, just because with everything going on, and then obviously watching the Chiefs game. So, but that will be fun to look forward to. So definitely hit that notification bell to get notified when I do release those episodes. Like the video and subscribe to the channel and share with your friends. I hope you guys had a great Labor Day weekend. I hope you guys are having a great Tuesday, and I hope you have a great Tuesday night. And hey, MIZZOU. It's Kansas Hate Week, baby. Border War.